two of you together. That's fine. But what if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British.
Hello and welcome to the show. This week we're going to be having a bit of a movie face-off between two, I suppose, relatively obscure movies from the 70s, because it's Christmas where we're from, which is Earth. It's kind of, well, I suppose over by the UK and Ireland in the 80s and maybe in the 90s as well. A lot of times when Christmas was around, that the instead of like Christmas movies on, a lot of time it was like Hammer horror movies. People aren't familiar with Hammer horror movies. Hammer was an English studio that made a bunch of horror movies and other movies as well. From, I suppose, the mid-50s onwards, they kind of challenged Universal with it and took over for a period of time. Well, a period of time, about 20, 30 years. They were fairly dominant with their horror movies. But neither of these movies are actually made by Hammer, but they're just reminiscent of them because they're starring two of Hammer's biggest stars from that period of time, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. So the first film that we're going to be talking about, well, we're going to be kind of like having a face-off because they're both similar in ways, is The Creeping Flesh from 1973, directed by Freddie Francis. The basic plot to it is a professor, he discovers fossil, would you say fossil?
I suppose
body?
Skeleton?
A skeleton in a cave when he's off exploring stuff, brings it back, and it turns out to be like evil incarnate, which they resurrect by accidentally spilling water on it. And much hilarity ensues. And then Horror Express, similarly enough, this is where the similarities come in with the films. Horror Express is the other movie, which was made in 1972. And was directed by Eugenio Martin, and it also stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, with Telly Savalas in it as well for a brief fleeting role as a Cossack that likes smoking cigars weirdly and cracking whips and calling people peasants. But and this one, it's in the first one, in fucking Peter Cushing, in Creeping Flesh, it was Peter Cushing that found the thing. In this one, it's Christopher Lee finds basically like a monkey that he thinks is like the missing link, but it's evil. There's some people saying online that it's based on the book that The Thing was based on, which was Who Goes There, I think. I can't remember what it was called. There's an awful lot of similarities between this Horror Express and The Thing, which we'll get into as we're talking about. But yeah, they have it, and he's transporting this fossil, as he calls it, across on the trans-Siberian railway to bring it back home to England. And it wakes up, and then there's all like a lot of
hijinks ensue on the train.
So getting started, I suppose, will we talk about Creeping Flesh first, and then we'll get into Horror Express, and then we'll say which ones we prefer and why.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so you see, we're trying to be a little bit more disciplined this time around. We're trying to be more civilized. But yeah, look, Creeping Flesh, you talk about Creeping Flesh. You were the one that introduced me to it. You saw it when you were younger and it terrified you.
Well, yes, I tried tracking it down for years, actually. I had this thing in my head. I suppose we'll go right back to Laura's childhood. On a Friday night, my parents used to go out, as all parents used to do.
Fucking raw heroin.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. No, they were going out to the pub like most parents did back in the 80s. And I used to get babysat by my granny, who lived next door. So my granny used to have a penchant for violent... Shut up with your heroin, Jesus Christ. Yes. No, she used to have a penchant for horror films, action films, anything violent and evil, and like she used to be giggling at Jackie Chan going, oh, look at him kicking the head off someone.
That's different from evil. The way you said it was like, oh, my grandma had a penchant for evil.
Yes, no, but she did enjoy the old violent, a bit of the old ultra-violence, I suppose, as they used to say in A Clockwork Orange. But she used to just let me watch these films because that was what she did in the 80s. It was like children would just sat down and watch the films, and it was not worth sort of like...
Well, it's a lot of those movies weren't seen. That's by the 80s they weren't seen, compared to something like The Evil Dead or any of those. They were just seen as kind of harmless, weren't they? Really,
especially these kind of films, because it was the likes of Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. It was kind of like, oh, what harm can it be? And it's like, it's fairly classy acting and all the rest, so it's like, kids can watch this. So I was sitting down late one night. I think I was
watching the TV late one night.
I was trying not to do it.
I had a runny shite.
Lovely. I was trying not to burst into song there. But I do believe I was only maybe 3 or 4. It was literally, I don't believe I had even started school at this stage. I was that young. And Creeping Flesh came on. And I remember being absolutely both repulsed and horrified and absolutely glued to the telly at this film. But unfortunately, my parents arrived home midway through the film and I got carted off back to my own house and put in bed, so I never saw the end of it. And it devastated me. It's one of these like... I suppose one of these MacGubbins that I've been chasing ever since. It was kind of like, oh, I must try and track down this film. And of course, through the 80s, it was very hard to track down films like that. You had to wait for them to come back on the telly. They were never in like video stores or anything like that, and you couldn't just go online. And,
they were impossible to get. It was really thanks to the resurgence when DVDs and probably more Blu-rays when there was a lot of these... independent distributors that were like, we're going to pick up these movies because we love them and we're going to put them back out to remaster them and stuff. I think that only for that a lot of these movies, and piracy as well. If I can make no mistake about it, piracy has a big thing to do. There's a lot of movie studios
should be very thankful that people loved films enough to actually record
there was
them
a lot of
and
films
lovingly
that were
upload them again.
Only for even like Fright Night 2. You could not get that fucking anywhere. Like, they didn't put it on DVD for a long, long, long time. It was bizarre. Well, there was a whole fuck up, I think, with the studio at the time about the rights and stuff. I think it was just when they got taken over and they kind of dumped Fright Night 2. They didn't care if it did well or not, and it was in limbo for years after coming out on video. And you could never, because it was never on TV, so only for people transferred it to digital themselves, and it was like doing the rounds. And it was Monster Squad, similar for Europe anyway. I understand people over in America could watch that on HBO Max or something like that.
There's a lot of TV and cinematic history that would have been lost to time only for people had recorded it themselves, or they had it stashed away at home, recorded off the air or something like that. So there would have been a lot of films, I suppose, that would have been uploaded on the 7 Seas, as we call it, with ads and everything included in them that they recorded off the telly, and that's the only way they actually survived a lot of them.
But with a lot of these 70s movies, they pretty much existed on stuff like the BBC.
That was it,
Channel 4.
And they, as you said, the reason they used to get rolled out at Christmas time was because a lot of, naturally enough, a lot of people wanted to go home and spend time with their family at Christmas, so they used to put on long form films on broadcast TV stations so that they didn't have to have presenters there the whole time. So it's Hammer Horror is just like roll them out at Christmas time.
That and Carry On movies. Were the other ones.
They were the staples for all the awful lot of ITV. But there was the whole thing, as I said, this is sort of like my great white whale when I was younger, because I kept on going on, there's this film called Creeping Flesh, and everyone is going, that sounds like bullshit. I've never heard of this kind of thing. And of course, again, because of the internet didn't exist, so it was like, how did I prove this film ever existed? People were like, you're making it up, like fucking bullshit.
Because it wasn't.
Because it was just this vague memory from like a 4-year-old kid, and late night Friday TV sort of thing.
But explain the plot.
So as I said, or as you said, I suppose, it's this professor scientist back in the day. He's got this skeleton that he brings home, and he's busy examining it. And of course, he's your typical sort of like stiff upper lip kind of Englishman, where he's got a daughter, very well off now, I must say, or used to be, formerly well off, I suppose, but he's squandering all his money on his wacky adventures, going off trying to prove this, that and the other abroad, and the poor daughter is more or less locked up at home, keeping house, and she's like, oh, daddy, you've returned, it's so nice to see you, and he's basically, shut up, daughter, I'm off to look at my skeleton and my laboratory. So, eventually he accidentally spills no, actually he doesn't even accidentally spill a bit of water.
He goes to clean a bit of dirt off. He goes to clean a bit of dirt off the finger, yeah. And this actually plays a big part in the film later on. He cleans the finger first, and the finger suddenly starts, and this is what really this creeped the head off me as a child. It starts growing flesh back on it, and it's a really good special effect, I have to say, for the time that was in it. It still kind of holds up. It's kind of sickening watching it.
It is. Yeah. It is proper creeping flesh.
Yeah. Now, it's quite obvious. It's like that. There's an old special effects trick where it's like you have the thing on it. It's normally wax.
Yeah.
Or kind of a gelatin thing, and then they heat it up and melt it. So it's like you put that in reverse, and it looks like the flesh is growing.
Yeah, but it was like that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, Jesus Christ, the flesh is growing on it. So it is something that haunted my nightmares for quite a while as a kid and fascinated me in equal measures. But yeah, so I suppose to carry on with the plot there, it's he's like, oh my God, and then he suddenly discovers this is pure evil.
Yeah, somehow, he looks at the blood.
He's like, this is pure evil.
Because there's like loads of little black spindly kind of like octopus bits in the blood, and he kind
just
of goes,
eats normal
evil, and then he goes on to this big tirade about it being evil, and if he could eradicate evil, if he could come up with a vaccine for evil, then he would be God and he could defeat evil, and
he could like help the human race or something like that. So of course he has. Of course,
he's got the monkey.
I was going to say, as every scientist does back in the day, he's got a couple of monkeys just hanging around in the lab, so he tries it out on the monkey, and then he's like, have to try it out in a human. I don't think anyone's going to prove it. It's like, I do have a daughter, don't I? Yeah. So he tries it out on the poor daughter. And of course,
this was after the daughter finds out that he lied about her mother dying, because her mother only recently died, but what it was she was locked up. Locked up in an asylum. Basically, now, whether it was that she went mad or it's because she was sleeping with other people,
it's a little bit, yeah,
because it's
a bit unclear.
Half brother is the head of the asylum, who's also performing, and that's Christopher Lee, who's also performing experiments
that are very unethical.
Like he shoots. There was like I was going to say a prisoner. A patient tries to escape and he just kills him.
Yeah,
and like there's a subplot involving at the start with that. Another patient escapes and gets out into the wild, and he's like, "Why didn't you kill him? God damn it!"
Yes, he's like, they go. It's so callous. Kind of you have your experience of working in the mental health setting and all the rest.
And this is like spot on.
So it shows the whole thing. It's like one of the mental health patients is basically they try and escape, and he's like, you stop there, get back in your cell, essentially, and the poor patient is just like, no, please,
so he shoots him 3 times in the back.
So he's just like bang 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 bang, and it's like, oh well, just like cart the body away, let's be done with it, kind of.
But as well, he's kind of like telling the police to come in to look for the escape guy, and he's like, oh, just bring him back, dead or alive,
and the police are like, okay then, yeah, no bothers.
Now they cut to your man that's after escaping, and he goes into a bar at one point, and he basically fights the whole bar. Yeah. After he's grabbing at one's
the bar
tits.
is kind of like, I suppose it's not quite a brothel, but almost a brothel.
It's just one of these. There's a lot of sailors in it.
Sleazy kind of vibe going on.
It's like something you could see, like
there,
Jack the Ripper kind of going,
not my scene. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that whole subplot as well. Yeah. And after he injects the daughter, then the daughter, because he fucks up, he thinks he's after coming up with a serum by basically mixing water with the blood.
Yeah, he's like, that solves it all.
Yeah, and he injects the monkey, but the monkey goes evil.
Yes.
They don't tell you how the monkey goes evil, except that he breaks out of his cage.
And dies,
yeah.
And he's like, that's great, I'll try it with my daughter then.
Yeah. No, he's after trying it on the daughter at that stage. And then the daughter, in her madness, she goes off to that pub where the fights were, and she's like dancing around the place, and a fella basically tries to assault her.
She's kind of recreating the mother's descent into madness as well, if you remember, because again, it's a bit unclear as to whether the mother was a little bit promiscuous, and whether that actually drove her mad in the end, or whether it was because she was
She was
mad,
a
she
slut.
was a bit promiscuous. But it doesn't really do much for women's rights, I don't
No,
think.
it doesn't. No, it's all like, if your woman is going outside the house,
it's like, how
she
dare
needs to be put into a mental
exactly
asylum.
It's like, no, that's your place is either in the home or in a mental house, basically,
which is perfectly right, I think.
Yes, you shut up.
Yeah.
But it is, there's so many, I can kind of see as well, if it was the case when I was younger that my parents made the conscious decision to stop me from watching it halfway through.
I doubt it.
I'd say it was just like, get off to bed for yourself.
But it does get a bit,
but
like,
it got a bit
because
saucy at one stage. Yeah.
There's an attempted rape of her upstairs.
There's a lot of grappling of boobs and stuff.
She scratches your man's face and he runs off, and then it's kind of seen like it's her fault, and then a guy starts grabbing at her downstairs, and she picks up a bottle and slits his throat and kills him, and then
quite graphically and violently.
The whole fucking pub run after her. They're all like, and then the police appear out of nowhere. Now the guy fucking that bet up everyone in the pub, nearly killed a load of people. Nothing done about him. Absolutely nothing done
but
about
how
him.
dare
The cops
she
didn't
try
even
and
show
defend
up.
herself from some guy trying to rape her?
She ends up running off, and she finds the hideaway that the other kind of the escape patient is in, and he's like trying to help her. And then she pushes him out a window and stands on his foot, and he falls to his death. And then they grab her and they bring her off, and she's taken to the asylum where the brother-in-law, or the brother of
her uncle, basically
brings her home to try and blackmail your man, saying, "No, give me your work on evil."
Yes, and I will then win the Nobel fucking prize for science.
We'll keep
whatever.
quiet about your daughter, which is like that's like probably more power than most people that were working in mental asylum back in the,
would have had really,
the late 1800s would have had.
But yes, I suppose back to the main plot then as well. This whole subplot is going on, I suppose, and the main plot then is back to the skeleton, and it's they accidentally spill water on it, and it basically becomes more or less, it starts growing its flesh.
It's because Christopher Lee, the uncle,
sentient.
decides that he wants to rob it. So when they're robbing it, it starts raining, and he's not aware of the
whole thing.
He thinks it is just like a skeleton.
Yeah, because there's this whole lore to it, I suppose, like the tears of God rain down, and the sort of evil will rise
it was in New Guinea,
again.
so there was this whole thing about where he's like, "Oh, get my books on the lore of New Guinea," and he's got like around 10 books on it. And
and it's like, that's oddly
I
specific.
don't even think there is one fucking book on it nowadays. It's in that this thing is basically like the Antichrist. So it's a little bit reminiscent of John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, but not really.
But this whole thing basically comes to life as well. And if you remember, it all started off with cleaning the one finger, and the creeping flesh crept on the finger, and your man severed it to stop the rest of the flesh from creeping off around the whole skeleton. And he has it kept in a jar, as you do at home. And basically at this stage it looks like a horrendous dicky, or some sort of like dildo or something like that. Yes. So this thing is, at this stage your man is like, I want nothing more to do with this horrendous thing that's brought nothing but pain and misery and suffering on my house. So he throws it in the fire and burns it, or destroys it, or whatever. So the skeleton just basically comes back with these like 4 fingers.
It gets all the skin on it and kills someone, and he's somehow managed to get a big cowl or a big cape that he's hiding in the forest.
Stalking around.
So you get to see him briefly, and he looks like, if anyone's familiar with the fat frog lollipop, he looks a bit like that.
It. Oh my god.
Yeah. With like a fucking like the Grim Reaper version of it.
Yeah, because the actual the skull of it all along looks really deformed and weird, but you're right, it is a fat frog.
So then he goes off looking for Peter Cushing, and he breaks into the house and he cuts off his finger.
No, he's all like, "What do you want to know?" And he just holds up his hand with his finger missing, and he's like, "Finger."
Yeah. So now you think that this thing that's basically meant to be the Antichrist and like the definition of evil would kill everyone, or if it touches people, but like it just comes in and cuts his finger off.
Yeah, it's like, why do you want that? Like, could you not either just get on, like, especially if you can grow your own flesh back, just fucking grow another finger. Like, do you have to cut off someone else's finger? What's the fucking story?
It's very petty.
Yeah, it is really. It's like, I want your specific finger to replace.
And as well, for something that just came back from after being dead for thousands of years, it knew pretty much how to find the house.
And was able to navigate through like sort of modern times and like, you know, use coaches and stuff like that as well. Yeah, actually.
So it kind of finishes up then with Peter Cushing telling the tale to some guy, and you're like, oh,
camera pans out and he's in the mental asylum.
Yeah, but it's at the start of it, because we were like, God, there doesn't seem to be much in his lab, because it's just white walls and there's a thing, and he's telling the story. And then it goes back to that, and then it turns out, like you were saying, he's in a mental asylum, and your man Peter Cushing, or not Peter Cushing, fucking Christopher Lee is there going like, he's quite mad. He even thinks that I'm his half brother. He's so disillusioned, and he thinks that woman is his daughter. So you're kind of left going, is it all?
Yeah, did it actually happen, or is Christopher Lee like super evil and just like, scoff, I have them all trapped?
It's more like a ghost story than like a cosmic horror movie. Like, there's some Lovecraftian elements in it, I think, but they just don't do it, because I think it falls into that ghost tale where it's like the ghost comes, like even the banging on the door and stuff.
It's like the monkey's paw kind of a thing, isn't it? Which is another thing I must go and have a look at.
Where it could have been more violent, and there could have been a lot more to it. But what did you think of it looking at it?
I really enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, thank God. It was a bit all over the place and a bit scatty, but like it actually it sparked me off to kind of go, right, okay, do you know what? We need to watch more Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee films. We need to go back and watch more of the sort of the trad films. They are, even if they're a bit nuts and a bit out there.
That's what you need more of that, though.
Yeah, they're so watchable.
Well. Yeah, like I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I was very surprised by it, because it is weird. Now, like, I mean, this is the thing. If people, if you haven't seen, I would recommend looking at it, because it is fucking weird, and especially for the 60s.
For trying to listen to us, like trying to describe it, it's like it's a bit fucking all over the place.
Yeah, for the 60s or the 70s, people must have been like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, like, it's because like Lovecraft, like people talk about Lovecraft now as if he's been around forever, and like, I mean, obviously he's worked, but people weren't really familiar with Lovecraft even in the fucking 80s. It was like just hardcore weird fucking tales fans and science fiction fans and some horror people. It was really only in the 90s. I think Metallica, in a weird way, were
creeping flesh.
But they were part of the whole thing of bringing
Cthulhu
Lovecraft
and all the rest.
So this whole cosmic horror thing, it wasn't mainstream until really, I'd say, 90s to 2000s. It feels like it's always been part of it, because it's like you go, oh, H.P. Lovecraft, he was around 100 years ago, and it was like, but he had a really, like, he didn't do well when he was alive. It was like Pulp was seen,
exactly, Pulp magazines.
It was only because of his friends afterwards and colleagues that got him, like,
stuff,
republished all the stuff as books, and like, I mean, you could get the books, but they were hard to get. Like, they were very, I remember, Jesus Christ, I think
you used to have to order the books up in the...
and they were really hard to get. Like, they were really, you get like the odd ones that were and it was like nearly kind of like fan service that they were after putting together volumes of the work, but this is definitely, I think, on the lines of cosmic horror, but it doesn't go far enough with it, like,
and it isn't up its own hole insofar as it's so spooky and out there and cosmic and fucking the being was unknowable. It's just like there's this fucking weird looking skeleton and it just grew its flesh back and wants his finger, and that's it.
I think it's the thing with people like Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, they elevate it.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to say. They as a duo are fantastic, because basically the two of them, they play off each other so well, and basically they can switch roles. Do you know what I mean? One is a good guy, one is the bad guy, and it doesn't really matter which.
Well, they're
so watchable, like, and Christopher Lee especially, it's just like Anthony's in, you're just like, gotta fucking sit down and watch this.
They were in like over 20 movies with each other, and like, I mean, they were obviously good friends. It wasn't in this one, but in the next movie, like that we're going to be talking about, Horror Express, it was Peter Cushing's wife was just after dying before they shot that, and he didn't want to do it, and Christopher Lee kind of like was like, come on, it'll be good for you to do it. But yeah, with this Creeping Flesh, I think it's it's like fucking, it is a hidden gem. It's one of these really weird old movies that I think it was probably 10 years before its time. If this was made in the 80s with like 80s practical effects,
it'd be another
80s
thing.
madness, because it would Brian Usna and Stuart Gordon made this, like, along with the with the Reanimator kind of vibe to it, it would have been.
It would have been a cult hit.
Yeah, a cult hit.
Whereas now it's just,
easily,
I don't know anyone else who has ever even heard of Creeping Flesh, let alone seen it. Like,
it's on YouTube for people that want to look at it. That's where we looked at it, and it's like you keep saying, it's good. It's definitely worth checking out.
And I'm so glad I got to see it as well, because as I said, it's rare that a film makes that much of an impact on you as a kid. That, like, I mean, I won't say how old I am now, but I'm not
73.
A spring chicken, shall we say. And if you can do your maths, and if I was 3 or 4 back in the early 80s, you can work out how old I am now. And if it has been something that I've had in the back of my mind for that many years, that had that much of an impact at me at that young of an age, that'll tell you, okay, there's something fucking good about it. There's something about the film and something about the special effects that will have that much of an impact on you.
Yeah, like when we were literally looking for this for years, just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And then I just came across it randomly on YouTube, and I was like, hey. But so that's Creeping Flesh. So the next film that we're going to be talking about is Horror Express, which, like I was saying, was shot in 1972. So wait, no, Creeping Flesh was 1973. So Creeping Flesh was after Horror Express, right? So with Horror Express, it's Christopher Lee. He's some lord. When he's off doing on another dig similar to Creeping Flesh, he finds this like monkey man that he thinks is like
fossil.
It's like this will prove evolution.
He's like the missing link, basically.
Yeah. So he's bringing it across on the train. So it's like the Thing. It's very similar to the Thing. So the fossil, we'll call them 8 balls. So 8 balls fucking starts coming, because people keep trying to break into it.
People are so nosy. It's like, he's like, it's a fossil, don't open it. It's stop
and they
looking
go to
at
try
it.
and
Of course, everyone is like, look at it, I want to see what
even before
it
they
is.
get on the plane, some guy tries
Train,
break
you
it.
mean? Yes, not plane.
Oh, plane. I thought it said train. But he's found dead right beside it with his eyes turned white, kind of like Evil Dead style.
Yeah.
And then there's this monk who's quite obviously meant to be Rasputin. He's like, oh, there is evil in that thing. And he's like, oh, look, I put the cross here, God is there. Where God is the cross. And he tries to draw a cross on the box and it won't draw it. And he's like, oh, evil. Yeah. And people are like, all right, you fucking stupid bastard. So you're kind of introduced to a couple of characters where it's like a lord and lady from Russia. Or it's they're not czars, I don't know what they're. But they're high class, and then like there's an engineer fella, and there's like some woman who turns out to be a spy, who's trying to rob like some metal from the Russians, and there's an inspector. You're introduced to the whole cast
of characters,
and
the fact that it's on a train that is not
so
stopping.
It's like that John Carpenter thing where people are trapped.
Yeah, they're on a train.
Yeah,
it's
that
kind
Rio
of like the
Grande
Cassandra
thing.
Crossing or whatever.
Yeah. So they're going on it, and the Thing gets out, and it starts. Monkey Balls gets out and starts killing people from looking at him. When he sees him, his eyes go red, and
their eyes suddenly go like hard-boiled eggs.
And for some
because
reason
he actually boils their eyes.
Yeah, for some reason the other his buddy Peter Cushing is going on the Thing as well, and he's like nearly his rival. There's like a friendly rivalry to him, and he's after paying people to kind of like, oh, have a look in the box and see what shit he's got in there, and that's what kind of kickstarts it all off, because the guy that's in the carriage accidentally opens and lets it out. So all this is people getting killed, and then along the way, I'd say maybe not even halfway through it, the inspector. Look, there's going to be spoilers for this, because I think with the Creeping Flesh, there's nothing kind of like twisty turny.
A 1970 odd film.
Yeah, but there is a few bits in this where you kind of go, oh. So the inspector fucking guns down Monkey Balls, and you think, all right, that's the end of Monkey Balls. But no, Monkey Balls, he's looking at the inspector, and he transfers his intelligence into him. So he goes around and he's fucking like trying to kill off people, because he finds out, oh, they know what I am. We can't have people know what I am. Turns out that what he is an ancient alien that got like abandoned on Earth. So he's been jumping between bodies and different organisms for fucking millions of years. And he's like, I want to keep my secret. people can't find it. So he's trying to kill Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing to stop him from doing it. Then fucking Telly Savalas gets on. He's like, hey ho,
I'm Telly.
yeah, and fucking the shit hits the fan then because they figure out that your man is the alien. So he starts killing other people, and Rasputin sides with him, and
they start cutting open people's heads to see what's going
Yeah,
on,
and
it's like,
brains
oh
are
no,
smooth.
their brains are smooth because he sucked all of their memories out.
but when they're looking in the eye of him, they see
the last thing that person saw is in the eyeball.
Yeah, so the last thing that the monkey man saw was like a dinosaur, and then when they for some reason it keeps going backwards.
Yeah, and it pulls out and he sees like Earth from space.
So they're like, oh my god, it's an alien.
Yeah.
And then of course the monk is like, no, it is Satan, because Satan saw the earth when he fell.
Yes, he was
And
in
he's
heaven
like,
and he
alright.
got cast out from heaven and
But
he
like
saw the earth when he fell
monkey
to it.
balls now, when the inspector anytime the monk speaks to him, he's just like, shut up. Like it's like really dismissive, where he's like, oh, you are Satan, and he's just like, he gives him a look as if to say kind of,
cop
fucking
on.
planet are you on?
Yeah.
But yeah, it ends fairly depressingly, but not as kind of what the fuck is going on like The Thing with it. It's not it's fairly kind of like, oh yeah, that happened, but maybe it didn't. But it's, compared to Creeping Flesh, it's really action packed.
Yeah.
There is an awful lot of action in this. There's an awful lot of special effects, which kind of reminds me a little bit of like Italian horror zombie films. The Fulci kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It reminds
there would have been a spate of films like that where it was like all these sort of like drama on a train or drama in a skyscraper, you know, these kind of things where it's like it's all this high tension action pack kind of thing, you know, and there would have been a lot of, you know, hiding in sort of carriages and like sitting in your, you know, kind of, you have to share a room and all this kind of stuff, and slamming open the doors and going through different carriages, and it just has that kind of it's just this sort of fast-paced feel to it, you know, you're up and down
it's
through all the
constantly
carriages, you know,
there's
it's constant motion.
Yeah,
all the rest,
there's not much of like a break between stuff, and like there is quite a lot of people get killed in gory ways for the 70s, for those like low budget things. Like it's not like fucking a Peter Jackson movie
No,
or anything.
and there's a couple of real sort of throwaway humorous moments in there.
And a bit where it's like, oh my god, there's like monsters on this, and it's like, my god, man, we're British. Yeah.
But even Peter Cushing has he has an assistant with him as well, that's sort of his helper or whatever, and she's this sort of stoic.
No, she's another professor as well.
Yeah, but that's
but she helped him.
She's a very stoic, exasperated older lady who's just like hates everything to do with the world, and they're all sitting down having their meal, and he comes over whispering to her, and she's like, he's like, excuse me, I need your assistance, and she's like, suppose you would at your age, and he's like, no woman, I mean with an autopsy, and she's just like, all right, okay, you know, and it's
but
like,
even with her as well, there's a bit where it's like, and she's like, I'm an archaeologist, and he's like, oh, that's pretty good, and she goes, for a woman, or something, and it's just like, what?
Yeah. But there's a lot of, it's, you know, there's a kind of seriousness in the film, and then there's this really weird kind of light vibe to it as well, and all these weird little jokes sprinkled through it.
There is that weird dream-like thing to it, like a Fulci movie. Like even when the inspector, because like when the monkey balls is there, a lot of times he's in the shadow, so you just see this one red eye glowing when he's like killing people, and it's creepy and it's done really well. But then with the inspector, it's like he's really there, and they have like, they're after building up prosthetics over his eyes to get both his eyes to turn red. There's something really unsettling about it, even though you look at it and you kind of go, my god, this is awful, but you kind of go, it's fucking really creepy. It's like that Fulci thing where there's a lot of stuff in,
it's just
like House by the
unsettling,
Cemetery and fucking all that, where you kind of go,
yuck.
Or in Zombie Flesh Eaters, there's a few bits like that where you can tell it's a prosthetic, but there's something just
still
off
a bit gooey about it,
And
I suppose it's the whole thought as well. I suppose it is like, because the eyes are glowing red, I suppose they're kind of infrared, and you know he's boiling their eyeballs alive. It's just kind of like, ugh.
No, I didn't even think of it like that. I just thought like, you can see the wax around the eyes building it up, and you're like, that's just really bad, and you could have blended it a bit better.
All right, critiquing their SFX skills.
Yeah, I was going to say 40 years. No, it's 50 years now.
See,
Yeah,
getting older, Wayne.
But yeah, for me, I love this.
Yes.
I had this on video when I was younger. Taped it off BBC and looked at it endlessly. Then when we were looking at it, now I was like, fuck, I can't remember half of this. And I was really pleasantly surprised by it, because I think it was probably one of these films I looked at so much when I was younger. I fucking grew to not hate it, but I was just like, oh,
sick of it.
But I went like that with The Empire Strikes Back as well, because I just looked at it
Yeah.
way too much, that I was like, oh, this film is boring. And it's like, it is once you look at it 1,000 times.
Yeah, when you can recite it backwards. Like, yeah.
But yeah, looking at this, I really like this. I watched this again and again and again and again.
And you
again,
obviously did.
And again. And what did you think of it?
I did enjoy it as well, I have to say. I kind of, well, as I said, I got into the whole groove of, like, I mean, we'll be going off watching a lot more Cushing Lee films as well, I would imagine. Anyway, kind of, I'm back in this whole, let's watch all these old sort of stiff upper lip films and all the rest, rather than watching all these fucking shit new Hollywood fucking crap action films. I'm like, oh, things were better back in the day.
When you look at the scenery, like we were looking at, like, we're going to be doing for, I think next week we're going to be doing all the Hammer Horror Dracula films.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the first Dracula film, and just the set design alone, you go, fucking,
so
and
much
the costumes.
time and effort sunk into it, and
Not saying
attention
that
to detail.
films don't do that now, but you just look at it and kind of go, Jesus Christ.
It was lush,
Yeah. And these films, they were the same, even though they're obviously lesser budget, they're not Hammer. They're like very small movies.
But I
They're
mean,
still
even the
like,
attention to detail and the costuming and all the rest, was fantastic.
but like the main house that they're in, like in Creeping Flesh.
Yeah.
Like just stuff like the teapots and fucking, the embroidery on the chair, just the whole set design and the costumes, where you kind of go, look, fucking, that's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work and effort and thought and money put into it. Yeah, absolutely.
And same with, like, well, yeah, I suppose it was Horror Express as well, because it was set on a train. Now, one of the things I read about Horror Express, I don't know if it's true or not, but the guy that wrote it, he basically wrote it and set it on the train because he was after getting a train set that he wanted to use in a movie, and he was like, this is how I get to do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So now that's not too out of whack, because in the fucking, from the 50s upwards, like, look at any Roger Corman interview or films about Roger Corman, he'll say that, like, someone would have came up with the idea for a poster and went, right, film on that, you got like an hour to do it and you have a week to make it.
Yeah.
This is your budget, and like people would just go off and do it. So I've little doubt that was how Horror Express came about.
And I mean, if you're gifted like basically an old decommissioned train or something like that, of course you're going to make use out of it. Like,
no, it wasn't it was like a train, like a toy train set. What? That's what was used for the most of the thing.
Oh my god, okay, I didn't realise that.
I
thought it was an actual
the only time there was an actual
train
in it was when the train takes off at the start. The rest of it is a toy train.
I'm getting Zoolander vibes here. How do you fit people into that?
You didn't. Well, obviously, when they were inside, it wasn't a toy train. It was like just a set. But any of the shots from the outside, it was a toy train.
All right, no, I thought you meant like he got an actual train carriage, and that's what he, sort of decommissioned.
No.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I was going to say. It was like the actual, when they were shooting inside whatever set they were using, it was like it had that constant motion of like being in a train carriage.
Yeah, well, that would have been someone with the camera moving.
I know, but the people themselves. No, I understand that. I'm fucking there. But what I'm saying is the actual people themselves were moving as well. So the whole set itself was. Yeah, you could see people were swaying a little bit as well themselves.
Well, that's, they were just good actors back then, weren't they? Like they were
but
professionals.
They were all swaying in time with each other, is what I was saying. So I thought it was an actual carriage that they had.
Maybe they did have them on a carriage and they were just fucking rattling.
That's what I meant. That's when he said that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like if you could shoot it on a carriage, why wouldn't you? Because everyone is in sync then. But obviously, that's grand. I'm just going to go off now and just.
But I think it was shot over in like either Spain or Italy or something like that. So it would have been same like a lot of those movies at the time where they were like dubbed over. But for me, Telly Savalas is a highlight in it. Like Telly Savalas is just this fucking weird character that's just Telly Savalas.
Yeah, just showing up.
Yeah, in it, and it should be so out of place, but it just fits in so well with it because the rest of the film is so fucking weird and mental.
There's so many weird characters. It's like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't Telly Savalas show up?
It's like a Tarantino movie too. It's like if Tarantino did The Thing and had no budget.
Yeah, and set it on a train.
Yeah, but so between the two, which is your favourite?
I thought that the Horror Express is more action packed, all right, but I have a little grow in my heart for the creepy flesh, because obviously that's, as I said, that's been my great white whale for the whole of my life, and it's something that has spanned back to when I was like 3 or 4 that I first saw it. So that will always be the one that I will hold dear in my heart.
Yeah, I like both of them, but for me it would be Horror Express. I think is better because the action, it's the pacing is a lot better too. Creeping Flesh, now in fairness to it, fucking drags.
It goes a bit all over the place as well, but I kind of like that scattershot things at times where you're kind of like, what? Why are we here now? Jesus, what are they doing in a brothel? What's going on? Why is there
it's like I think in Creeping Flesh that they probably were trying to do this where they had higher notions, but they either didn't have the budget or they didn't have the capacity to do it in the script, where they wanted to do this whole exploration of evil, like nature versus nurture thing, and it's like, does she turn like that because the mother's mental illness, or so it was like very early exploration of that. But as a lot of horror movies, they were horror literature and science fiction, that there were explorations of bigger, wider kind of like things in society, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I'd look at it again, obviously, but it feels very badly paced to me. And even the whole scene where it is her going mad and killing people, that goes on for a long time, and it's like it has her dancing for about fucking 10 minutes. That was a bit painful, right? You see, I like Christopher Lee in that a lot better, because he's just such an out and out cunt in it. Yeah, but this is the thing why I like Horror Express as well, because it has the two of them in it more with each other, whereas
that's true.
They're
very separate, in Creeping Flesh.
Whereas in this, it's like nearly a fucking buddy cop movie, where the two of them are trying to, and they kind of play off each other a little bit, and you can feel the comfort between the two of them when they're on screen together, and that they're having it. They're quite obviously enjoying themselves with it. I think Peter Cushing maybe more so than Christopher Lee. Peter Cushing seems to be not as dour as he normally is in things. He seems to be more kind of cheery and stuff, whereas Christopher Lee is trying to be Christopher Lee. But there's a few points where I think he kind of cracks and he smiles. So it's it's nice in those to see the two of them play off each other, like two buds. Yeah, especially after they've had such a fucking long and storied career with each other. But like that's our take on those two films. Like we were saying, next week come back, I think probably for Christmas we'll look at a couple of horror movies, Hammer horror movies, or movies from those kind of movies anyway. But like you said, we're deep into Dracula, and we'll probably speak a little bit more about Christopher Lee then as well, because I'm after doing, even just reading his Wikipedia page, holy hell, that man very has interesting had some fucking life. There's a documentary came out about him, I think just before he died, and we'll have a look at that as well, and talk about that. Maybe that would be a separate kind of podcast we'll do about Christopher Lee. We'll see. Maybe not, because that'd be a lot of research. Just boil it all up with the Dracula. One we'll do. But look, definitely look at the two films. The two are available on YouTube. And you'll get like decent quality versions of them as well. They're well worth watching. If you're a fan of weird horror films or weird science fiction things, these are definitely ones to add. I don't think they're very well known. Even like when you type the name into YouTube, there's a couple of podcasts have covered it and a couple of people have done it, but there's not much about them. And they're great if you want to feel posh and like sit there drinking Earl Grey or something. They're just like good. It gives an insight into a different time and a different way that films are made, and they're look, we're after saying they're good a million times. Exactly. So look, fuck off and look at them. Come back next week. Go off and look at some Dracula stuff as well if you're after getting this far, and we'll talk about Dracula next week. Now, piss off.